Dyslexia is not rare. 1 out of 5 people have dyslexia, and most of them will go undiagnosed their whole life.
Despite their areas of struggle, dyslexics tend to be gifted in other areas. People skills. They can make outstanding teachers, politicians, motivational speakers, and community leaders.
First grade.
Wow, stunning numbers there about dyslexia. But how much do you know about the disorder that affects thousands of kids, thousands of people, really? There's now a new documentary, and they've done it in Spanish as well to explain how to handle that disorder. It is called Embracing Dyslexia, and joining us now to talk a little bit about it, Luis Macias, thank you so much. And you are really the author, the producer, the director, everything on this documentary. So nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank
Nice
you.
to have you. Okay, you know, one of the things that, as I was reading about this, the most stunning number that I saw and read, 15 to 20% of people out in the world have dyslexia. I never realized that.
Yeah, it's a very large number of people, and most of them do not even know that they're dyslexic.
Okay. And as a grown-up, it affects you in so many different ways. How, you said your child, you early on thought that he just was not trying hard enough, sort of told him that he needed to work harder, and then you come to find out that he does have this disorder called dyslexia. How did you make that connection? I guess what happened? Run me through the story.
Well, it began in first grade when we had transferred him to a new school. And when we went to the school, they tested him for reading and for math. And it turned out that he was behind in reading. And one of the things that really confused us was why. No one had ever said anything to us before. None of the teachers had said he was behind. So they said, well, with some help in the school, he'll get by and he'll do fine. Great. At the end of first grade, he was still behind. And so the teacher and the principal recommended that we hold him back for a year. And since we believed the teachers and the principal would know more than about what our child
Sure.
needed, we believed them and we said, okay, we'll hold him back a year. And it seemed to do the trick, but halfway through first grade, we were still running into the same issues where he was still struggling horribly. He would hit himself on the head sometimes and say, you know, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I can't do this. And we just said, well, you're just not trying hard, and you're not applying yourself. Those tears are crocodile tears. I don't believe they're real. But in second grade, halfway through, it was my mother who actually recommended that we get him tested for dyslexia. And I had done some research, but I really wasn't sure. When she said it, it made sense, so we had him tested, and it turned out that he was dyslexic. And we went to the school and we said, he's been diagnosed as being dyslexic. They're like, okay, we can provide accommodations, but the principal had said, but we don't like to use the word dyslexia. We don't want to use that word. We don't want to label him. And it was really confusing to me because if there's a word out there that explains what was going on with him, wouldn't you want to tell your child?
Sure.
So I decided that because of that, it was really important for people to know what dyslexia is, because majority of people don't really know what it is.
I find that they don't.
They think it's more of, oh, they read backwards, or they see things backwards.
The
when
numbers
that's,
are
they're
reversed, right.
Where it may be that's a very, very tiny part of it.
Okay. Well, let me get to this, because one of the questions that I would have is, you would think at a school where they are dealing with dozens, hundreds of kids, they would know to recognize the symptoms and the signs of dyslexia. And it sounds from your story that that's not the case.
It's not the case. A lot of schools have no idea what dyslexia is. Some administrators don't even believe it exists. I think we've made a lot of progress in the past few years in getting the word out, but there's still many, many people who don't fully understand what it is, what to do about it. It really needs to begin at the teacher training level. From there, then I think it'll begin to blossom further into the schools.
So what would you consider to be the red flags? Meaning the top 3 things that maybe a parent should have in their head as they, work with their kid and they think that perhaps they have some sort of issue.
The biggest red flag is that there's the reading difficulty. Even though
they're just not moving at a pace compared
behind.
to other kids.
They're behind the other kids. They don't want to read because it's very difficult. We've had, in our particular case, we had this situation where our son would get really upset when it came time for reading. Spelling is another issue. If their spelling is horrible, they have a very difficult time with spelling, and it's all in how they are learning how to process that language. What goes on is that the left side of the brain, that is the language processing center. Dyslexics, they process language on the right side of the brain. So they have to go from here to do that. So that little bit of a delay is what's partly causing all of this.
Okay. All right. And you decided to do this documentary. You've done it in English, and you've also done one in Spanish. Why in Spanish? Are you noticing anything within the Latino community that maybe they're just not aware of this, or there just aren't resources out there to help them? What have you noticed?
Everything that I've seen out there has been in English. Dyslexia is a worldwide
Problem.
issue.
Yeah.
So because I'm Hispanic, you know, it was important for me to at least to reach out to fellow Hispanics, for those who don't necessarily speak English as well as others do, so that they understand what's going on. A lot of the kids in these schools who are from a Hispanic background, their parents may not fully understand how to read or to understand English. So what they need is they need the information, and they need it in a language that their native language.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting points that you brought up is that when a kid is told you're not trying hard enough, that sort of creates a trigger in your head that maybe you're dumb, or, you know, I am trying, so why am I not getting it? And I'm sure you've dealt with that, you know, with your son.
Yes.
How have you kind of overcome it now, as you know what's wrong with him?
Well, once we found out that he was dyslexic, we did the research, we found out exactly what does that mean. We told him what it was, and it was like night and day for him. He really, the self-esteem that he was starting to really suffer from, that went away. And we were able to focus on the positive aspects of this. It's like, yes, you're going to struggle, you're going to have to try harder than everyone, and of course, you know, being a young student, you don't want to try any harder than you have to. And we finally convinced him, look, this is not the end of the world. We will get through this. We know what it is. You will be fine.
It's easier to work with. All right. Let me get the information up on the screen about the website, embracingdyslexia.com. You can go there and watch this documentary. Again, they have it in both English and Spanish, which is a big help. Thank you to you. And it is free. That is my favorite word around here. So thank you, Luis. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Can't wait to see it. All right.